Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about intersectionality theory, and I thought that this was a really good topic to bring up on the basis of a lot of people will probably remember back in the day when there was this concept of the oppression Olympics. I've personally had this apply a lot in my own personal life. However, the intersectionality theory was actually founded by Kimberlé Crenshaw, who is an American attorney slash lawyer, not a psychologist. There is a pre-scripted version of this available on my Patreon if you are interested in hearing how I write. I do have a couple of patrons that have been rather impressed and kind of surprised by the amount of effort that I put into my Patreon, writing prompts and things of that nature. So if you are interested in hearing more of my in-depth thoughts about this, this will be kind of just an overview. Without further ado, intersectionality theory was based upon the notion in which someone under the guise of the law could be impacted by more than one personal attribute that could contribute to a crime or hate crime. So that is a mouthful. Let's start from the beginning. So anyone who is basically not a white male, who is straight, middle class, educated, able-bodied, any of those things that stray from that vision of a person is going to impact somebody's ability to access resources, communicate their needs, form relationships, and interact with their community. This will also, however, impact them on the basis of oppression, discrimination, and harassment. So I think that it is funny when people try and make a joke out of the oppression Olympics train of thought, because it actually is the inverse of what has actually been designed to help people when it comes to their cases and how their cases get viewed under the guise of the law. So it started originally with Black women. That was the guise of protection that they wanted to try and gain, was to acknowledge both the status of someone being a woman and someone being Black, because you could have Black men at a job and you could have women at a job, but if you do not have the representation of a Black woman at the job, then that could be an example of discrimination on the basis of an intersectionality. I think that this could also be brought up in when we talk about Stop Asian Hate. So when we go into that conversation, I actually have been talking about it a lot more in detail on my Instagram, and I have provided people resources to the over-sexualization of especially minors in Japan, but not limited to Japan, because there are many Asian countries. This is something that hits home for me personally, even though I was removed from my culture. My dad is Chinese, and I have seen this argued on the internet. His grandfather is white, but my grandma comes from Vietnam on that side of my family. And people who are Asian often fall into this line of dismissive thought, or that we are just meant to be submissive and kind of go with the flow, not very much questioning to things. If somebody picks a fight with us, we would rather leave the internet for 7 months than know that we're in the right, and that we could stand up for ourselves. It doesn't come to the first thought of our head because of conditioning. And you can say up and down all you want that this doesn't apply to me because I'm white passing, but I really hate to break it to you. It's definitely influenced my relationships and the way that I interact with society. I have always just been not white enough to be pegged as other, but not other enough to be accepted into spaces of color. And that's why biracial people of color have also their own acronym. But that is some of my thoughts about intersectionality, kind of open that up and start new trains of thought. It's not just one incident for the Asian community, and it's not just one incident for the Black, Latino, or any other type of mixture community. It has been a continuous systemic issue for quite some time. And when you say that this issue is not as big as we are claiming it to be, I beg you to look at the statistics since the outbreak of the Schmigress, because it's definitely real. And let me tell you, the Asian countries got their shit together, and we still can't figure out what the mask is. You can check my community tab for more AAPI voices talking about their experiences. And I am trying to mainly only voice those who are speaking out, who are of this community. It has been very inspiring for me to hear other people's stories and hear how they worry for their family's safety. Once again, my grandmother comes from Vietnam, and this has been a worry for me for quite some time since this all happened. I have been seeing more than just the one incident or the two incidents or just Atlanta happening. But when we look at Atlanta in particular, it feels a lot more closer to my generation than it does to the generation of my grandmother. Because as an adult worker who has had incredible distrust at this point for the legal system, for online accountability, for the way that people literally dismissed me when I had all of the proof. I just didn't want to put it on the internet because that wasn't appropriate. I think that people need to take more time to think about how intersectionality really applies to more than just the law. I think that people could really benefit from applying it to many areas of their life to see how others can be denied access and how our prejudices / stereotypes play in attributing factors to how we look at cases that we may not understand. My condolences goes out to all the families affected. My condolences goes out to Manny's family, who I've recently mentioned on my community tab today. He was a Black man who lost his life last March. And I think that's about all I want to say for this video today. I may or may not add editing into this. I just wanted to get something up about this because I have been thinking about this concept since I learned it in school, and I really want the information out there. So I want people to be able to use this tool to research it more and to see how it applies to their own life in ways that they could be more insightful to other people's experiences based on ability level to access resources or other means of participation, including online discussion. I hope that this helps someone. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, please feel free to drop them down below. I don't delete my comments, but I do have a highly moderated system. I have a lot of words that you cannot say in my comment section, and that is to prevent me from having to manually screen all of them. So if your comment gets removed, it's probably because you're mentioning somebody who has a restraining order against them, or you're mentioning something that is a part of an investigation that I don't want to talk about. So I am going to end the video now. Cheers.